Joining us now is David Paleologos. He is a political pollster and the director of the Suffolk University Political Research Center. Thanks a lot for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right. So from the Biden perspective, how bad are things right now?
Short term, they're pretty bad. You know, the performance has kind of rippled into the general polling numbers on the first level, but also in some of the other levels of voting that we look at. And like third-party voters who normally would come back to Biden are abandoning him. So, you know, in the short run, it's a bit of a hit, but it's still a margin of error race. And what we saw in our polling is similar to what Nate has in his model of all polls.
So what a lot of people are saying is Biden is going to wait to see where the polls are, right? That the Biden team, before they make a decision. Is it fair to say that it's hard to imagine that in the next week that the polls get better for Biden?
I don't think so unless, you know, he begins making some public appearances and puts this behind him. But you're absolutely right about the difference between the national polls and the state polls and the electoral outcome. Biden needs to be +4 in the national polls to have a shot at winning the swing states. And right now he's down 4.
And, you know, I was fascinated by this when we looked at this point in 2020, and this kind of cuts both ways. Biden was up 46 to 37% on July 2nd, 2020. The 2020 results, of course, had Biden winning the popular vote, 51.3 to Trump's 46.9. I mean, on the one hand, that would indicate, wow, you know, Biden went down even before the election. On the other hand, it shows you that there can be significant swings from now until Election Day.
Sure, you know, but that would also depend on whether or not there's a lot of play, a high undecided count. Then you'll have bigger swings or a high number of people selecting a third-party candidate. Keep in mind, when we released that poll on July 2nd of 2020, Biden had just secured the nomination, and he was seen as a calmer alternative who would reach across the aisle, had many, many years of political experience, and would bring a calmer approach to government. Now we're in a situation where people can judge the Trump presidency versus the Biden presidency, and that seems to be where the rubber hits the road, and people on the fence are looking at Trump right now.
If the Biden team came to you and they said, do we got to pull out? We don't have a real shot here. Would you say, yeah, I think you got to pull out?
Well, right now it looks pretty bleak, but, you know, it is a long way. And someone who's been in office for over 50 years has an amazing survival skill politically. So I don't put, regardless of his age, so I don't put that past him. I think the free advice, you know, would be to prop up the libertarian candidate in the swing states, if you want to get into the weeds on this. The libertarian candidate has always hurt the Republican Party. It did in 2020. Joe Jorgensen choked off enough votes in Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia to cost Trump the election. And the electoral engineering I would employ or recommend if he does stay in, and that's a big if, is to prop up the libertarian in the swing states, because every point that Chase Oliver, the libertarian, gains comes right off of Trump. I know that's a little bit, you know, counter to what you're hearing, but in terms of how people vote on Election Day, that's what I would do, because you don't have two choices. You keep hearing, this is a binary choice, this is a binary choice. It's really not. There isn't one state in the country that will only have 2 choices for president. Michigan had 6 candidates in 2020. Minnesota had 9. Colorado had 21 candidates for president. The third-party candidates do matter, and they directly impact the outcome.
You said that was free advice. Pretty valuable and free advice. David Paleologos, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.